Councilmember Cosarelli? Councilmember Kennedy?
Yes.
Councilmember Longo is unavailable this evening. Councilmember Nattari?
Yes.
Councilmember Rovell?
Here.
Schumelberg? Present. Mayor Kimball?
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't you notice?
Notice that this meeting has been given to the press and public in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law.
2 more minutes. Move it. Second.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Rovell?
Yes.
Schumelberg? Yes. Mayor Kimball?
Yes. Communications.
Report the manager. Report the manager.
I'm skipping right over.
Yes, that's okay, Mayor. I have a very brief report this evening. We have received $72,500 from Essex County Community Development Block Grant Program to improve Charles Street, including curbs, sidewalks, aprons, and milling and paving. A progress report on the Silver Lake Firehouse. It's proceeding according to schedule, coming along nicely. And the last item I have is that at our most recent Just a Party, everyone, the feedback is that it was a great success. That's all I have.
Kev, you have anything? No. Great. No.
Yeah, just the yard sale. I heard today that 172 homes have already signed up, which is a lot more than last year.
Many more than that.
Yeah, so it's a success, and they can still sign up between now and this Friday.
Yes, sir.
And it's 2 days this year, too. That's it.
Ben?
Mark, can you do a little update on the street paving going on?
They're finishing up concrete work on, I believe they've already done Tapan and Quinton. They're going to be doing Beach, Clinton, Brighton, and Walnut. And Brighton Avenue, we're not doing a complete renovation there. We're just taking care of the trenches. And I believe I was asked at the last meeting what the timeline was. We should be done with everything no later than, I believe Mr. Hurd told me the middle of November.
Along those same lines, can you check on Bernice and Gillespie for me, as to see if they're on the list?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I know they're not this year. And the last thing is, I had a discussion with Coach Spina about the volleyball team. They wanted to approach us about using the friendly house during the winter for practice. So if Mr. Augusta could talk to them, I think it would be a good thing.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Welcome, Mayor.
Communications.
Request received from Michael's Ross Common House for permission to hold its 3rd annual breast cancer 5K walk on Saturday, October 14th, from Michael's Ross Common House to the Belleville Little League Field and back again.
One take.
We need a motion.
Both.
Yes, please.
Do both?
Yeah, move them move both of them.
Both A and B?
Approve.
Second?
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Rovell?
Yes.
Schumelberg? Yes. Mayor Kimball?
Yes.
Mayor, I have an additional communication, a letter from Councilmember Joseph Longo dated September 5th, 2017, and I received it on September 19th, 2017. It states, "Dear Ms. Kavanaugh, as you are aware, my employer has reassigned me to South Florida. I have decided to accept the position permanently. Therefore, unfortunately, I must tender my resignation effect on October 31st, 2017. It has been my great honor to serve the residents of Belleville, and I wish my colleagues on the council continued success as you govern our beloved Belleville."
Under New Jersey First Act, I make a motion we remove them immediately.
Second?
Clerk call the roll.
Mayor, if I may, before you call the roll. I was contacted by Mr. Longo, who indicated that
Mayor, call the question. I know what you put up for a vote. Tell the clerk to call the question.
Call the roll.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Rovell?
Yes.
Schumelberg? Yes. Mayor Kimball?
Yes. Mr. Longo is no longer a councilman in the township of Belleville. Ordinances for introduction.
number one for introduction, ordinance to amend the revised general ordinances of the Township of Belleville, Chapter 8-2.2, parking prohibited at all times on certain streets.
Make a motion, move it for introduction.
Second.
Clerk call roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Kimball?
Yes.
Make a motion, open up public participation.
Second.
Clerk call roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Kimball?
Yes. Mrs. Frank Antoni.
Phyllis Frantantoni, Mount Prospect Avenue. Mr. Longo sent the letter in on September, and this is already the end of September. Last meeting, you should have read that letter, and you should have dismissed him from his duties. You knew about it from then, and he wanted to stay until the end of October. It was a trick or a treat. Now, I want to know, were we paying his health benefits?
You don't get health benefits.
He didn't get health benefits? What about his cell phone bill?
He didn't have a
You
town
didn't have
cell.
a
Well, how did he call in when he was in Florida?
On his
Where's his
phone.
own phone?
Anybody could buy a cell phone.
Okay, that remains to be seen. Mr. Longo stated it was a pleasure to serve the residents of Belleville. I think he used the wrong words. I think he meant screwed. And I'm not being facetious, and I'm not saying something wrong. As far as what it says in Webster's dictionary, it means to extort or practice extortion on as he screwed me out of money. He screwed the people of Belleville big time, and all of you knew it because all the times that we were asking where he was, you all denied where he was, so every one of you is guilty of it. So he perpetrated the thing on us, and you guys went right along with him and did nothing about it.
Thank you, Mrs. Frank Antoni.
No, I'm not done. I'm not done. So I think what you should do is ask him for a refund on monies that were paid from him for May when he was down in Florida, which we know he was down there because it was on LinkedIn. He broadcast all over he was down in Florida. We still paid him his salary. He had to use everything, and he screwed the town big time. So I think it's up to you to ask him for the money back. And I want to know, since you knew this, what else have you known that you've done hell in the people? I mean, come on. This is just something we knew, we had to find out, and none of you did one damn thing about it, and it's just ridiculous what you do to the people.
I believe under state law, you can miss eight weeks. We do have a resolution too that you could call in, and that would count as a present meeting, as you being present. So we did take that action once when he called in. The 8 weeks, he didn't fall into, so now we took the correct action, and Mr. Longo was gone.
You probably needed him for a vote, that's why you didn't do nothing.
Anybody else? Mr. Frank Antoni.
Mr. Frank, I know you got on the table the firehouse renovations up on Franklin Avenue, but there's, in the past 2 weeks, we've heard some crazy things going on there. For example, the bathroom, we understand that a barn door was installed to a bathroom entrance, which is not privacy, and then they took it down. So the other letter I have that the contractor sent to our architect, a whole list of things that he says in there, that he did it without asking approval from the architect. So
We're talking about the firehouse on Franklin.
on Franklin Avenue, the main firehouse.
Mr. Tucci is meeting with the architect, the developer, the fire chief, I believe
Fire chief
tomorrow.
and the town engineer tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
All right, so I hope, if you're not taking it off the table tonight, I hope you look into that, because that's another case of our tax dollars going out the window. And I still maintain the law that says you can't exceed a contract by more than 20% without going out to rebid or taking something. That thing went 40.5% over budget, from 94,000 to 132,000. So do your homework and ask some hard questions, and let's get some of that money back. Also, the Roach property on Franklin Avenue, went before the planning board a couple of weeks ago. And I'm glad to have the opportunity to praise once in a while. I praise Councilman Kennedy, who stood up about the traffic problem that's going to develop from that project on Mill Street and Franklin Avenue and through the park. There's a solution. They're building the first phase, a drugstore and a storage facility right on the corner of Mill and Franklin, and the storage facility is right against the road on Mill Street, going up toward the residential area. I made a recommendation there. Being Belleville taxpayers have a big interest in that property, financial interest. Now is the time, because they said this is only phase one. The whole back area probably is all going to be developed. And thank God, I'd like to see commercial development, not housing. But this is the time to solve the problem. I asked the traffic engineer or the architect, take 10 or 15 feet from the property, widen Mill Street, and take 10 feet from Franklin Avenue up to the entrance of that project, and make Franklin Avenue to reduce the bottlenecks. Because once that is done, you're going to have problems with just these two units being built there. And Friday, my wife and I went shopping, and we come back, it was a 5:15. I said, let's go through the park and see. 4 light changes. 4 light changes to get through that light. Without that, all that development up there. I want to see that development, but it's up to you, Mr. Kennedy. You made some strong comments. The only problem I have is, let's see if you follow through as a member of the planning board and insist that before all that thing is developed, it's 18 acres. So I'm sure we could take a 1/4 acre or so to widen the road so we don't have future problems. They're doing, I bought 36 years ago in Pennsylvania, Route 15, oh, they're going to widen that. But what they did over the 30 some odd years, they allowed people to build right up to the property line. Now they can't widen Route 15 because it will cost millions and millions to solve the traffic problems. And you go up there on the weekends, it's bumper to bumper. You have the ability right now, Mr. Kennedy, you're on the planning board, take some of that property to widen the infrastructure before we go. And finally, there's an article in the Observer, it's on your steps out down in the lobby there. East Newark, the old Clark Thread building, the factory by Top's Diner over there, you may know it. They're not knocking it down, they're converting it to housing. And no pilot. And guess who's doing the project? Alma Realty, the same company that's doing the Soho property. And something's wrong there, Mr. Mayor, because you received a $1,000 donation from Alma Realty on February 1st, 2016. You did not report it, and here's your campaign reports, until January 19, 2017, almost a year later.
I think that was my first report after that, after my fundraiser.
Well, it was 11 months before you reported.
Oh,
And then,
I don't think it was 11.
then they have, well, I have to document, here's your campaign report, we just signed it.
I still don't think.
January
I'll have to
19th,
look
you
at it.
filed
I
it,
don't believe you're right.
and the check you wrote, the check was received on February 1st, 2016.
That's very
But,
possible.
no, and then you gave them a pilot. Now, it says here, the attorney for East North, yes, you gave them a pilot.
Yes,
Yeah, the attorney from East North says this building over there, the development there, goes back to 2009, and I'll read it. The big holdup, she recalled, was the dispute about whether Alma should receive a tax abatement or pilot for the project. The borough refused to grant one, and the borough finally got its way. They're building this big project without tax abatement. We're tired of you giving our tax dollars, giving breaks to the
You know,
development.
you quote one program that got a pilot. Why don't you go into Bloomfield and see how many pilots were given? Or why, wait, let me finish now before you jump. Go into Lyndhurst and see how many pilots were given. Or even go into Bloomfield and see how many pilots were given, Mr. Frantantoni. Because, and go into Newark and see what they're doing. Because that's what development is being done now. you're offering a pilot, so we get
We get the tax.
the tax dollars. If they're not using it for schools, or we could give the school part of it. So pilots are part of development now.
Mr. Mayor, when the Washington Avenue development, about 10 years ago, I had the newspaper
But
article.
10 years ago,
You
Mr.
said-
Franklin told me,
You said you were against pilots.
maybe I wasn't
And you
that
gave the
time.
good reason,
You know,
because over a
sometimes-
period of time. we're
Sometimes
gonna
you
lose
look
it.
and things change.
But look what's happening. I've been telling you that this rental and high-density thing is a bubble, and it's going to break. Here,
Okay, Mr. Franklin.
August 18th.
And let me tell you
August
something.
18th.
I am only one, or it was 7 at that time, of people that voted, okay?
I'm blaming all of you for giving our tax
Well,
dollars
no, you
away.
seem to be pointing me out.
Well, because yours is the campaign report that shows you got the dollars.
Because I reported, correct?
You got, a year later,
I
A
guess
year
I
later.
reported, right? I have
a
to.
year later, after you gave them the tax abatement, but here's what's going on.
But I'm one of 7 votes, I told you.
Again, I blame all 7 of you, even the absentee councilmen who never showed up. I'm telling you, the bubble's about to break. And here, I'll just read the short paragraph, and that's the
Mr.
end.
Franklin told me.
What's happening now, millennials are moving to the suburbs. With more kids in tow, the need for more space and afford is increasing, pushing millennials out of the urban areas and into the suburbs. Only 15% of millennial buyers bought in an urban area, according to this year's survey, down from 17% last year and down from 21% 2 years ago.
Thank you.
So they're seeing that, so this high-density housing, you gotta stop it. You gotta stop it, not allow it anymore. We're gonna stuck, and it's gonna be like the Branchwood Gardens, and Councilwoman Burke, you remember that turned into Audubon Place? Remember the disaster down there? Go look at up the street here,
Mr.
Queen
Franklin,
Valley Bank.
thank
Those
you.
were luxury apartments, they're all slums now.
Your 5-10 minutes are up.
Thank you.
Make a motion close?
Second?
What do we wait for the close and then we jump?
Yeah, why not? Jeff Mattingly, Walnut Street, waiting our reconditioning of the street. Thank you for clarifying, it looks like the end of November is when, or certainly mid to end November is when these things are going to culminate. Hopefully they're paving before
Hopefully
it's
before that.
so cold, yeah, that it's not going to properly compress. I'd like to ask the council, has there been any compensation of any kind for health care to council members? I'm not talking about being on the healthcare system, but potential, any financial ability to, consider people that have to supply their own healthcare. So there's no form of compensation from the council on the record to anyone on the council for healthcare.
What they do is, if you, say a husband and wife work for the town, or a husband works in one place, like say New Jersey Transit, and the wife works here. And you can decline your health benefits here, and I think they pay $5,000, and then you go on your husband's benefits.
Right, but if you have to potentially supply your own health care, there's no compensation being offered by the council, no financial incentive. Okay, thank you. I commend you for finally voting Longo out, Joe Longo. Really, this has been a major embarrassment.
Well, you just have to do things
Due process.
by due process, the legal way.
I appreciate that, and thank you for doing that, finally, please. We have a long history with Mr. Longo on the board and now on the council, and thank you for bringing it to a close. I see that, still and yet is the resolution on the table is for the pending meeting now for the firehouse, the main firehouse, and as Mr. Frantantoni pointed, it's more than 40% over budget, and it should go out to bid again. And I'd just like to know how that got authorized and who authorized it that brought it to the council at the last meeting that I attended when you were considering it. Manager Tucci said that he was not here during that time, that process, and there was a question as to how that got authorized that resulted in that large number. Does anybody on the council, mayor through the chair, have any idea how that was authorized?
No, I don't, but I know Mr. Tucci is looking into it now.
All right, because I'm very curious to see how it got.
I mean, Chair, I thought there was one that you did.
There was
One
one
that you did approve.
change order.
Jeff. There was
One
one change
change
order
order.
that got approved a while
Got
back.
approved for like
So-
19,000,
Yeah.
but the other 50,000,
13,000.
we didn't see that.
Well, that's my understanding. How did we
one
get to
change order.
40%?
Only one change order was approved by us.
All right, but now we're talking a much larger number, and I was just wondering how that got to come
That's
to
what
pass.
we're doing,
That's why it's
negotiation
invested.
now with the.
Mayor, if I might, Mr. Mattingly, only the mayor and council can enter into a contract or modify a contract.
That's
So
my understanding.
that's the law. So change orders 2, 3, and 4 are what we will be discussing and getting to the bottom of who actually authorized it and whether or not they were authorized properly. All right,
And
but
in so
nothing is, excuse me,
doing,
nothing is proper until the mayor and council accepts the change order.
I appreciate that. And so ultimately, as you review those change orders and ultimately account for who it is that might have authorized it, I would assume, or I would hope, that you would bring it down below the threshold and so that you don't have to go back out to bid, which is the concern of our council. And that's really the only thing I have.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, you're welcome.
Mr. Bruce.
John Perzoff at 3 Mount Pleasant Ave. Back in March or April, there was an article in the paper, you got $240,000 to do Glen's Drive and Mount Pleasant Ave. What happened? They're not being done. I asked the Councilwoman Burke about it, she don't know nothing about it. What happened? What happened to 240,000 and what happened to
It
the
wasn't
two
Glen's
streets,
Drive.
Glen's Drive and
No,
Mount
Mount Pleasant Avenue.
Mount
It
Pleasant.
was put up to be done. And what happened? That's a very good question. I don't know.
So there was money allocated for the
Yes,
state.
there was money allocated for Mount Pleasant Avenue, yes.
You live on Mount Pleasant Avenue.
No, I live on
Wait,
Pleasant.
wait,
I'm on
the
Pleasant.
town manager.
If I might, I have a correspondence here from Mr. Hurwitz, our town engineer, and the following streets are outstanding road projects, and he's supplying along with an estimate for construction. And under CDBG, Mayor Street and Cleveland Street will be done, that's what we're applying for. All right, on DOT, we have Mount Pleasant Avenue, Bernice Road, Smallwood Avenue, Van Houten Place, and Belmore Street.
So those are the ones we
coming up.
This is
applied
what we're
for.
applying for.
That's what we're applying for.
Huh?
Those are the streets we're applying for.
Doesn't mean we didn't get it yet.
Right, we didn't get the money.
The other point is, for Tom, he's got to do this. 51 Parkview Avenue. The grass is 12 inches or higher. The hedges along the sidewalk are 20 feet high and they're blocking the sidewalk. I brought this up once before and nothing was done. The weeds in the driveway are 4 feet high and there's 2 abandoned cars in the driveway, no license plates on it. What are we doing? And the owner lives in Brooklyn and he don't pay taxes, I want you to know. And what's going on?
What's the address?
Can anybody tell me what's going on?
No,
51 Park
50, you want to know the
View?
address?
Mr. Caruso, we can't, I'm sure Mr. Tucci can't pull an
Well, I
answer.
brought this up at the March meeting. I
We'll
believe.
find out, and I'm sure taxes are being paid by somebody on that house.
51 Park.
Whether it's the bank,
That's in my.
somebody must be paying taxes. And we will have it cleaned up. We got the clean the lien ordinance. We will clean it up and put a lien on that property.
Okay. What about him not paying taxes? The house has
I
been
can't
empty for
believe
3
that
years.
taxes are not being paid on
Somebody's
that
paying.
property. They
Somebody-
have to be paid by somebody, whether it's the bank.
Somebody's paying.
Or it was
Somebody's
sold
paying.
in a tax sale.
Or
Or it was sold in a tax
Otherwise you would
sale.
have seen it in the
All
tax
the
sale.
properties were sold in tax sales, that was the taxes.
Otherwise you would have seen it in a tax sale.
I'm sure.
I don't remember seeing it.
Okay, Mr. Caruso.
Thank you.
Mr. Fleischman.
Hi, Frank Fleischman, 132 Franklin Street. I'm just wondering, now that Mr. Longo is no longer a council member, have you given any thought as to how you're going to fill the seats?
Well, since it rests tonight, no, we're gonna have to get together and decide whether we're gonna make an appointment. And if we get 4 votes to make the same appointment, if not, we'll have to leave it vacant.
Okay. What I'd like to suggest perhaps is you could do what the Board of Education did when Mr. Longo left the Board of Education and came here, is that they opened it up to community. They asked for resumes, that sort of thing. There were interviews, and you could take from that pool. That's just my suggestion. Okay.
Thank you.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that last meeting, there was a gentleman here who apparently rents, an apartment, that sort of thing, and he was upset that his complaint and his name had been mentioned, I guess, in the complaint that got back to his landlord. Mr. Tucci, I believe, spoke to him after the meeting. I'd like to think that the town keeps that sort of thing confidential if it's asked. The only reason why I say that is that sometimes the landlord and tenant relationship can be an unequal power differential depending on leases, month to month, that sort of thing. I have a great relationship with my landlord, that sort of thing, but not everybody has as much integrity or is as kind as my landlord is. And sometimes when that sort of thing happens, it can come back to the tenant, and sometimes retribution can be it can be sought, that sort of thing. Sometimes these tenants only have this, the town government to rely on for certain things. So I sincerely hope that when those complaints come in, and I'm not saying that that every landlord's a sinner and every tenant's a saint, but if somebody calls and says, "Look, please keep my name out of it," I hope that you respect that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sir?
Bill Millen, Huckle Street. Just want to know what took so long to get rid of Longman? What took so long? We screwed the Board of Ed. What took so long for that?
I just told you, we did it by proper procedure. A council person could be missing for 8 weeks. We have a resolution that allows council people to call in a vote. He did call in a vote before the 8 weeks was up, and that would start it again, but he resigned in the meantime, and we accepted the resignation and moved it forward. And that's the answer I could give you. That's the only answer I could give you.
I just want to know, doesn't the state
That's the answer
statute
by
or
law that I could give you.
Through the chair, I just want to reiterate, like Kelly was saying, she did not receive this memo until September 19th. So we've acted upon it as soon as we got it. Just so you know.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, Council, thank you. My name is Shane Murphy from D-Wood. I'm a new homeowner in Belleville. I've been here for 3 years. I must say the blight in town is a disgrace. The previous two gentlemen touched up on a lot of what I had to say, a lot of overgrown yards. I had called one time to make a complaint, and the lady who answered the phone insisted I give my name. I didn't want to start trouble with my neighbors, so I gave a fake name. She turned around and said, "You're calling from a cell phone that says Shane Murphy. That's your name." Why would we have to give our name to deter people from calling? Second, Mayor, I can solve this problem. I'm not coming here with a problem with no answer. I do it in the town of Kearney. We keep the cost for the town of Kearney down to basically zero except for writing the checks. Our teams drive around, they take pictures of the blighted properties from the public view and submit them to the violation team in the town, and they approve them. After approval, we go out, we clean them up, and they leave them. I can do that for Belleville as well. You don't have to send your inspector out to find these properties. We bring them to you. We break no laws. We stay on public property. I submit photos. We submit a bid. Kearney got to the point where we were doing so many, they gave us an open change order for up to X amount per year to clean up the properties. The neighbors come out. They give us barbecues. They try to give us beer. They hug us. It's terrible living next to a home like this. You get the vagrants moving and doing drugs. You get the animals coming in, the bugs. It drops property value tremendously. We can help. I'm coming here with a problem and a solution tonight to clean up this town. I mean, the very first property you see when you come into town is a school. The knockdown school over here, and that's a disgrace. We don't want that to be the first thing they see when they come into our town. It's weeds 6, 10 feet high. Nobody's maintaining that. That's a town property.
No, it's not. That's a privately owned property.
Is it private? My apologies, then, Mayor and Council. I thought that was a town property. My apologies, sir. Again, though, it still needs to be maintained.
And that, we do see them cut it, and we get on them to maintain that property, but if it's overgrown, we will take care of it.
If you like, I can stop in tomorrow, give you some paperwork, the state paperwork, and... Sure.
Send to my office.
All right, no problem, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Make a motion, close public hearing.
Carlos.
Can I say something? It's
Sure,
totally
Carlos.
unrelated
Carlos, I
to
couldn't
the
see
issues
that.
with the town. I will.
Come on, Carlos, stand up.
Tell him where you're from.
Can I get on top of the seat?
Tell him where you're from.
Carlos, 37 Hill Street. Most of you know me. Thank you for allowing me to come by. As you all know, as we all know, the tragedy that happened in Puerto Rico, it's tremendous, and it hits me hard because I was born and raised there. I know legally the town cannot really do much for it, but me through a bunch of guys within the town and another nonprofit, local nonprofit, not one of those major mega nonprofits, we having a drive that we're going to do on October 20th. And what I came here for is just to ask you within your, your network of friends, professionals and everything, if you could somehow just pass the word around that this event can just, turn out to be what we want it to be. And I am personally making I already got a 20-footer container donated with pallets, and a client of mine will help me get it to the port to be shipped. So the next step is for me to get it to Puerto Rico, which I will be flying personally to make sure that it gets to where it's going to go.
I don't know if we can do it, but can we put that on our website?
I mean, I have some flyers. I don't know if you can put it around.
Give us the flyer.
Yeah.
What are you looking for, Carlos? For donations and stuff?
Yeah, what kind of stuff?
Yes, it has a list of everything that.
That's great.
Okay.
Put that on the website.
Thank you so much.
I saw that Councilman Kennedy had something on Facebook too, that he's,
Yes, he's involved with us. Actually, he's one of the persons and
Yeah,
another
we can
town
find
involvement
out.
that's helping me out. Okay?
They're gonna send
Thank you.
Mazzarelli down with you to help Bill.
Yeah, I was all in the container.
Make a motion.
yes, ma'am.
Sorry. Hi, Dora from Deerwood Avenue. And I know it was your last time about the bar that I have across from where I live. And it's like, it's getting worse and worse. Every night between 1 and 2, I wake up, my granddaughter gets up, she can't go back to sleep, she's in school. I can't, you know what I'm saying, I can't do nothing anymore,
Are you
it's not
talking
fair.
about the Vaughan Union area up by Bella Parkway?
Yeah, west.
West, it's on Belleville, Union Avenue. No, Belleville Avenue. So it's like, today I'm walking from the school, and right there's beer bottle, there's can, it's like trashing, it's crazy. And I know once in a while there's a cop there, a cop car that tries to, but it's not fair that we have to pay the cops to be there. He should hire his own and pay out of his own pocket, not from us. It's not right, you know what I'm saying? I don't even want to be there anymore, it's not fair. It's every night, every single
The
night.
police chief is not here tonight, but we will tell them, but it is our job as police officers to go there and take care of it.
Yeah, but he should pay for it. What if he gets caught, and it's a real
Even if
emergency?
they hire their own security, they don't have the authority to do that.
But it's just crazy, and it's not fair to everybody that tries to live there, try not to move out of there, And nothing's getting done. It seems, the same thing last time, it's nothing.
The town manager will
The
definitely.
code enforcement and the chief.
We'll call right after the meeting.
And another thing too, I heard that the taxes are going up again because they want to do work in schools and stuff. I don't know if that's true or not.
That's not us.
We went up
That's not us, you gotta go to the Board of Ed.
That's the board
But that's
of,
another thing, like the schools are so overcrowded. And,
It's,
I don't know.
We don't control it.
we're
Like I'm
separate,
paying almost
we're
$6,000.
separate entities.
So who do we have to deal
The
with?
Board of Ed.
Board of Ed.
No, there's a couple here.
Because it's not right, I'm paying $6,000 in taxes.
I think ours came in at $48.
And I don't have to go to school, my granddaughter.
4707.
4707.
There, a lot of the people don't even pay taxes because they're not even legal. The kids probably are legal, but not the parents.
well, I'm paying $8,000 a year, and I've had a child in school for the last 20 years.
You too.
Miss, the only thing,
Yeah, it's 26.
the only thing I can tell you is, they have the right to set their budget. It's no longer an election in April, where if the town knocks the budget down, it comes to the council. They set their own budget, it's voted on in November, and it's not even voted on by the people. The council, the Board of Education does that themselves.
Yeah, but where is this money going? Like I'm paying, let's say I'm paying $6,000. Where is this money going? Like I don't see any.
Go to them.
I don't see any improvement in Belleville. Nothing's really done.
Okay.
You
They're
know?
not picking up your garbage?
Excuse me?
They're not picking up your garbage?
They're picking it up, but I'm
They're
not.
not getting police and fire protection?
Yeah, but that's not fair that I'm paying taxes for a child to be at school. And the parents are not legally here, but the kids are. and you can't even ask the family, are you legal here or you're not? When she started school, she needed a file this big to make sure that she, you know,
Well,
that
that's,
she's legal here.
that's the school.
The school seems like they really, you know,
I mean, none of us who have kids in the school, we're all paying taxes.
but they're not really doing anything. The schools are overcrowded. There's 26 kids, I
Miss,
think.
we gave you the answer, it's a school
Okay.
problem. Ms. Burke,
Through the chair, I'd like to ask, why can't, I mean, I have a place on my street too that has a tavern. And I know what people go through, trying to sleep with the young kids and everything. It has calmed down a lot on my street, but I'm sure the one she's talking about, it didn't calm down. Maybe we should get a police officer that has to be there to watch what's going on. It's not fair to the residents nor the
Well,
children.
who pays for that?
Who pays for what?
That police officer to be there
The
constantly.
town, I guess, would have to pay for
Should
it.
make the business pay for
sir,
it. There.
sir.
Well, whatever we can do, I really think we need that because it's not fair to the residents and the children.
Anybody else wish to speak?
Make a motion closed?
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli? Kennedy?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Kimball?
Make a motion, move the consent agenda.
Second.
Any deletions there?
Check off number 1.
Just one?
Yep, this one.
This one?
Clerk call the roll on consent agenda.
So move it.
Move it.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Kimball?
Yes.
Make a motion, move resolution 1.
Second.
Kelly, I want you to take off 17-02219 and 17-02271. Their towing bills are Morrow hands.
Yes.
Right?
Councilman, for the record, that was my mistake. They slid,
all right.
they slid by me. I pulled a few, these I missed.
That's all right.
So we just need a second?
Yeah, what about
Second.
7?
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Kimball?
New business?
New business, I have a request from PAC 350 of the Belleville Cub Scouts, or Boy Scouts.
Scouts.
They're requesting to hold another overnight camping event at Fairway Park, Saturday, September 30th at 3 p.m. through Sunday, October 1st at 10 a.m. Make a motion, move it.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Kimball?
I failed in the opening of this meeting, but one of our longtime employees, Barbara Tuck, has passed away. So if you could just keep her family, her in our prayers.
I just want to say one quick thing about Barbara. She was a committed public servant. She was very passionate about her union and her union members. I had a chance this afternoon to talk to her husband, and he made a comment which I thought was pretty cool. It's like, you know, that Barbara was the female version of Pat Dunn. So if you knew how voracious Pat Dunn was to protect his people, that was Barbara Tuck. So God bless her and her family.
Mayor, if I may, in connection with the resolution disqualifying Councilman Longo, in the event there is any procedural problem with the government's action, with the governing body's action pursuant to 40A 16-3C, I was notified during the meeting that Mr. Longo sent an email to both Kelly and to the clerk and to the manager resigning effective this date.
Motion
Make a motion to adjourn.
We have a letter here from the Recreation and Cultural Affairs Council saying that they have 2 members that haven't showed up in over a year.
Who are they?
I'm not
Oh,
gonna.
We need to replace them.
But can the clerk, do we have to remove them, or do they have to resign?
They have to resign.
Even if they haven't
So we have to
on
notify
the
them?
They have to resign.
So we should notify them.
Councilman, okay, I'm the chairman of that, and I was not advised that you were.
It's in everyone's mailbox.
Oh,
It's
when was
in your
this?
package right now.
Yeah, well,
It's in your package right there.
Money in your package that
no, I know,
your
but
pool.
something like
Get
that.
out of your pool and do your job.
Can I do it again, a motion to adjourn?
Yes, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You should have told me then.
All right.